Are you looking for information or considering a move to Indian Wells, California? Are you interested in the city's livability? To help you navigate the plethora of information out there, we've put together the pros and cons of living in Indian Wells. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. Hi there, I'm Stephen Burchard, the Desert Bowtie Realtor here in the Indian Wells area. Since moving to a new city can be a big decision, hopefully this video will help you in your career change, relocation, or just a change. First, let's get the cons out of the way. Public transportation. If you're going to be commuting every day, you'll definitely need a car in the Indian Wells area. While we do have public transportation systems, bus, taxi, Lyft, Uber, you really can't easily walk to and from your home to most places. Most people will tell you that it's complicated and time-consuming to take public transportation. The average one-way commute in Indian Wells takes about 18 minutes. That's longer than the US national average, about 26 minutes. So in order to get from one part of Indian Wells to another, a car is pretty much a must. Economic diversity. Tourism is the primary economic driver around here. Unfortunately, it's also one of the only economic drivers in Indian Wells. There are very few tech and manufacturing jobs available, although there is a demand for healthcare workers. That's likely due to the high number of seniors living here, full and part-time. And there are a lot more remote workers coming out here since the pandemic. Temperatures in the summer. Yes, it gets hot as heck in Indian Wells in the summer. In Indian Wells, the summers are sweltering, arid, and the winters are cool and it's mostly clear year-round. Over the course of the year, the temperature typically varies from 70 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit. July and August are the hottest months for Indian Wells, with an average high temperature of about 107 to 112. Most people do most of their outside activities in the early morning before the temperatures get too hot during the summer months. The cost of living in Indian Wells. While housing costs are expensive in Indian Wells, the cost of living is another story. When choosing a new place to live, the cost of living is a significant consideration. The cost of living in Indian Wells is higher than the national average, and most cities in the state. Indian Wells' cost of living is 74.7% higher than the US average. While some areas can be higher than others on a state and federal level for many reasons, the overall average housing costs, utilities, grocery, transportation, healthcare, and miscellaneous goods and services tends to be a little bit more expensive in Indian Wells. Pro sports enthusiast. You're out of luck. There's no major baseball, basketball, or football teams out here in the desert. To see pro teams, you got to go to Phoenix or San Diego, which are all within driving distance. Now, let's look at the pros of living in Indian Wells. Pro number one, it's sunny most of the year in Indian Wells. Imagine there's 365 days in a year, and 350 of those days are sunny where you lived. If you come to Indian Wells, you don't have to imagine. We have more sunshine here than practically any other city in the United States. The summer months can get brutally hot. Not for a very long time though, but for a few weeks at a time it jumps above 110. And the sun does take its toll on your skin and your outdoor furnishings. That's for sure. Pro 2. There's always something to do in Indian Wells. Very few American cities can boast the number of amenities that Indian Wells offers. In fact, if you're looking for activities, you'll have more options than you can imagine. The San Andreas Fault Open Air Jeep Tour, for example, is an exciting four-wheel drive adventure to the private Matate Ranch Reserve on the San Andreas Fault Line. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience for any visitors to the Coachella Valley. Earthquake Canyon Express, a downhill bicycle adventure also, self-driving windmill tours, and a lot more. Pro 3, the casual atmosphere. Don't let the bow tie fool you. Indian Wells provides a casual atmosphere that many people enjoy. It's a dry heat, and the weather stays consistently warm, so the normal dress code here is usually pretty casual. Pro 4, healthcare costs in Indian Wells. Another favorite pro in this list of pros and cons of Indian Wells is healthcare. One bit of good news for retirees is that health expenses in Indian Wells are easier on your wallet. While the California average is just over 92% of the national average, our fine city comes in just under 88%. It's not a huge amount, but when you're retired, every dime counts. Pro number 5, people here are always in a good mood. Living in a city that's more like a resort does have its perks. One of those is that most everyone is always in a good mood. Most everyone. It's hard not to be when the weather is spectacular and there's so much fun stuff to do. You'll find that people smile a lot. And if you're outgoing and amiable, you'll fit right in. Pro number 6, Indian Wells is an ideal place to raise a family. There are tons of nice parks and lots of recreational sports you can sign your kids up for. There are also a lot of gated communities and low crime rates. If you have any questions about the pros and cons of living in Indian Wells, please let me know. If you're thinking about buying or selling in the Indian Wells region, please give me a call, text, or email. All my information is below. And now, I'll see you on my next video about the cost of living in Indian Wells. There is that going on as well, and all of that sucked poopy, so scrub it. Very few American cities can boom. Very few American cities can boom.